Tonight, you are under no obligation to solve the universe before you sleep. In fact, the universe has been getting along just fine without your supervision for nearly 14 billion years, which means that for the next hour, you are free to loosen your grip on the day and let your thoughts become less like marching orders and more like drifting starlight. That is one of the advantages of astronomy. It does not merely inform you, it properly scales you. And once your worries are scaled against galaxies, they do not always disappear, but they do tend to sit down and stop shouting. So settle into stillness. Let your breathing find the kind of rhythm that asks for no applause. Let the jaw unclench, the shoulders fall, the forehead release its quiet effort. We are going to travel, not by rockets and not by equations scribbled across a chalkboard, but by that most efficient engine ever discovered for crossing impossible distances. Attention. Point it gently, and the cosmos opens. Because when you look up, what you see is not simply a collection of lights. You are looking into a hierarchy of structure. Moons orbit planets. Planets orbit stars. Stars gather into clusters and associations. Those stars, together with gas and dust and dark matter, gather into galaxies. Galaxies gather into groups and clusters and filaments so large that even the word large begins to sound unprepared for its duties. The universe is not random glitter. It is architecture. Dynamic, evolving, gravitational architecture. And yet, for all that grandeur, the night sky can feel oddly intimate. Not because the universe is small enough to fit inside human emotion, but because human emotion is flexible enough to expand for a while and make room for the universe. There is peace in that expansion. When the mind stops circling its own small enclosures, it gets a little air, a little altitude, a little perspective. Perspective is often what sleep needs. Not answers, not productivity. Perspective. So tonight we will drift through galaxies. Not as tourists trying to check off famous destinations, and not as hurried students cramming facts before an exam, but as quiet observers letting the cosmos do what it has always done: rotate, collide, glow, collapse, bloom, and carry on without urgency. We will move from the Milky Way outward, from spirals to ellipticals, from irregular companions to giant structures built by time. We will let their scale calm us. We will let their patience mentor us. We will let their silence become a kind of shelter. Begin with the one galaxy you know from the inside. The Milky Way is not merely a streak across a dark sky. It is the stellar city in which the sun rents a modest apartment. Ours is a barred spiral galaxy, roughly 100,000 light-years across, with hundreds of billions of stars, interstellar gas, dust lanes, star clusters, stellar remnants, and a dark matter halo whose invisible gravity helps keep the whole arrangement from flying apart. We do not stand outside it and admire its shape. We live in one of its suburbs and reconstruct the skyline from the inside. That circumstance alone is worth pausing on. Imagine living in a forest so vast that every direction contains trees, light, shadows, and weather, and then being asked to describe the exact shape of the forest from the ground. You would not see the outline directly. You would infer it. The Milky Way is like that. We inhabit one thin region of its disk, in the Orion arm, between the spectacular and the ordinary, which is another way of saying in exactly the kind of neighborhood where life can forget how extraordinary its address really is. If you could rise above the galactic plane, far beyond the dust that dims our view from within, the galaxy would reveal itself as a broad, luminous disk with curved spiral arms winding away from a bright central bar. Those arms are not rigid spokes like the blades of a fan. They are more like traffic patterns in a rotating crowd, regions where stars and gas bunch up under the influence of gravitational waves moving through the disk. Stars pass in and out of the arms over time, but the pattern remains. A cosmic version of order that does not require permanence in any individual part. And right near the center, Hidden behind dense dust from our earthly viewpoint resides Sagittarius A star, the supermassive black hole at the Milky Way's core. Around 4 million times the mass of the Sun is packed into a region so compact that space-time itself caves inward. Yet the black hole is not a cosmic vacuum cleaner racing outward to swallow the galaxy. It sits where gravity put it, and the stars near the center orbit accordingly, much as planets orbit the Sun, except on a stage grander and stranger. Now scale yourself within that setting. The Earth circles the Sun once each year. The Sun circles the center of the Milky Way roughly once every 230 million years. Dinosaurs appeared and vanished during a fraction of one galactic orbit. Mountains rose and eroded, oceans opened and closed, species evolved and disappeared, all while our star continued along its path through the galaxy with no special concern for whether any creature beneath it was keeping track. And still, there is a tenderness in this knowledge. The calcium in your bones, the carbon in your cells, the oxygen you inhale, the iron that lets your blood do its work. These were forged in earlier generations of stars. To say that you belong to the Milky Way is not poetry pretending to be science. It is chemistry with better public relations. You are not merely in the galaxy, you are of the galaxy. Now move your attention outward to the nearest large spiral neighbor, Andromeda, also known as Messier 31. At about 2.5 million light-years away, it is close enough in cosmic terms to belong to our local family, and far enough in human terms to feel like myth given form. Under a dark sky, it can appear to the naked eye as a faint, elongated smudge, a soft uncertainty placed carefully in the black. Yet that little blur contains roughly 1 trillion stars. The lesson here is one the universe teaches repeatedly. Small appearance is not the same thing as small reality. Andromeda is often described in relation to the Milky Way because comparison is how humans keep from getting lost. It is larger in some respects, similarly spiral in structure, rich with star clusters, gas, dust, and a central black hole. If the Milky Way is home felt from within, Andromeda is home reflected from afar, like seeing your own species in the face of a cousin. It reminds us that our galaxy is not unique in form, though it remains unique to us in biography. The two galaxies are moving toward each other, and headlines sometimes call this a coming collision, which is technically true but emotionally misleading. It evokes car crashes and shattered glass, when what will actually happen unfolds over billions of years. Galaxies are mostly empty space. Their stars are separated by enormous distances. So when the Milky Way and Andromeda eventually merge, most stars will pass one another without direct impact. Their shapes will distort. Their gas clouds will interact. New waves of star formation may ignite. The dance is less a smash and more a long gravitational negotiation. Imagine approaching Andromeda in silence. No soundtrack, no mission clock, just the galaxy widening as you drift nearer. The bright central bulge thickens. Dust lanes trace dark curves through the disk. Spiral arms broaden into star clouds, then into populations, then into regions where each unresolved glow hints at countless individual suns. At some point, the word galaxy stops feeling like a label and starts feeling like weather. You are not looking at an object anymore. You are immersed in a system. Andromeda offers another comfort too. There are futures already underway that do not require your management. The merger is coming on its own schedule. The stars will do as gravity instructs. The gas will compress where it can, ignite where it must, and thin where it should. Some processes in the universe are so large that your refusal to worry about them is not negligence. It is wisdom. A little farther out in the local group is Triangulum, Messier 33, a smaller spiral galaxy that tends to live in the shadow of larger names. That is unfortunate, because Triangulum is a lovely reminder that grandeur does not always announce itself with mass. Its spiral pattern is loose, airy, and open, with bright star-forming regions scattered through its arms like electric blue embers in a slow cosmic fire. One of the best-known structures within Triangulum is NGC 604, an enormous star-forming complex so expansive that many nebulae in our own galaxy would feel provincial by comparison. In regions like this, gas clouds collapse under gravity, fragment into dense knots, and give birth to hot young stars whose radiation then sculpts the very clouds that made them. Creation in astronomy is rarely quiet if you stand too close, but from a distance, all that turbulence becomes elegance. There is a lesson in that contrast. Peace is often a matter of scale. Up close, life can feel like pressure, deadlines, collisions of need and memory. Step back far enough, and the turbulence becomes pattern. Not because the details are unimportant, but because they join a larger context in which not every fluctuation deserves equal authority over your nervous system. Triangulum does not dominate the local group. It does not carry the fame of Andromeda or the familiarity of the Milky Way. Yet it contributes its own structure, its own chemistry, its own history of stars being born and stars fading out. The cosmos is not a story with only lead characters. It is an ensemble piece, and even modest galaxies help write the plot. Now turn toward the southern sky's companion lights, the large and small Magellanic clouds. They appear from Earth as detached patches of luminosity, as though fragments of the Milky Way had wandered off and decided to keep their own company. In reality, they are dwarf galaxies, irregular in structure, gravitationally entangled with each other and with us, moving through the extended environment of our larger galactic system. The large Magellanic Cloud is home to the Tarantula Nebula, one of the most active star-forming regions in the local group. Massive stars are born there in quantity, live fast, flood their surroundings with radiation, and die in ways that reshape the gas around them. This is not the calm symmetry of a textbook spiral. It is asymmetry under construction. Patches of brilliance, uneven structure, a galaxy still being worked over by gravity, by internal feedback, by history. The small Magellanic Cloud is more stretched and distorted still, marked by tidal interactions that pull matter into long, faint features. If galaxies could reveal biography at a glance, the Magellanic Clouds would be among the best examples. Their forms bear the signatures of repeated encounters. They are shaped by relationship. And there is something deeply human in finding that even on the scale of galaxies, proximity matters. Not every beautiful thing in the universe is polished. Some of the most revealing structures are lopsided, scarred, diffuse, or incomplete to the eye. We should not underestimate the calming power of that observation. Perfection is not a prerequisite for wonder. Stability does not require symmetry. A galaxy can be irregular and still majestic. Let us visit some of the smaller galaxies nearby, not because small means unimportant, but because astronomy has a way of rewarding attention paid to the less obvious. Dwarf galaxies orbit larger systems all over the universe. Some are rich in dark matter. Some are gas-poor and populated mostly by old stars. Some are disrupted into streams that wrap around their host galaxies like the fading evidence of previous chapters. Barnard's Galaxy, also catalogued as NGC 6822, is a nearby irregular dwarf in the local group. It does not boast the spectacular fame of larger spirals, Yet it has offered astronomers insight into stellar populations and the role of dark matter in small systems. Here, the visible stars do not seem sufficient to explain the galaxy's motions, which means there is more gravity present than light alone accounts for. The universe keeps this habit. It lets motion reveal what brightness conceals. Dark matter is one of the grand humility lessons of modern cosmology. Most of the gravitating matter in galaxies is not directly seen. We infer it from orbital speeds, gravitational lensing, and the way structures form and hold together. This does not mean we know nothing. It means that knowledge can be indirect and still reliable. The cosmos is not obligated to reveal itself only through things that sparkle. Think about that for a moment in a quieter personal register. Not everything real in your life is the part that glitters on the surface. Some of what holds you together is not visible at first glance. Habits, memories, unspoken loyalties, invisible disciplines, quiet recoveries. The universe, as it happens, approves of hidden structure. Around the Milky Way, streams of stars mark the remains of dwarf galaxies stretched out by tidal forces. The Sagittarius dwarf spheroidal is being torn apart even now, its stars redistributed into looping trails around our galaxy. This sounds violent, and in a gravitational sense it is, but on cosmic timescales it is also normal. Galaxies grow by merger. Large structures are often built from smaller ones. There is no shame in being part of something larger than yourself. The night sky is full of such incorporations. Farther out, the gallery of distinctive galaxies widens. Consider M82, the cigar galaxy, where a starburst phase has turned the central regions into a furnace of rapid stellar creation. Interaction with its larger neighbor M81 likely helped trigger the activity. Gas compressed, stars formed in abundance. Stellar winds and supernovae then drove material outward in immense superwinds. From a distance, this all collapses into a slim, bright form. Again, the universe demonstrates that serenity in appearance can conceal turbulence in process. Then there is M51, the Whirlpool galaxy, a showpiece spiral whose structure has been sharpened by interaction with a companion. Its arms look so graceful that the untrained eye may assume they were designed. Yet gravity needs no aesthetic ambition to produce beauty. It merely follows its rules, and beauty emerges as a side effect. That is one of the most soothing truths in science. Order does not require intention to be exquisite. The Cartwheel galaxy takes the matter further. A smaller galaxy once plunged through it, sending a wave of density outward that left behind a ring of star formation. What might have been labeled destruction in a human drama became geometry in a cosmic one. Disturbance did not erase pattern, it generated a new kind of pattern. The Sombrero galaxy offers a different mood. Bright bulge, dark dust lane, sharp symmetry. It looks almost ceremonial, as though the galaxy dressed itself for portrait day. Of course, it did no such thing. We are the ones who project costume and posture onto a distribution of stars and dust. Yet, if personifying a galaxy for a moment helps the mind relax into it, the cosmos seems in no hurry to object. Hoag's object, with its near-circular ring and detached appearance, feels less like a familiar galaxy and more like a thought experiment that escaped the blackboard. It reminds us that not every structure fits our instincts about how galaxies ought to look. The universe has more design space than human expectation can comfortably patrol. Centaurus A is beautiful in a scarred and dramatic way. A giant elliptical crossed by a dark dust lane, powered at its center by an active black hole that launches jets, it carries the visible record of merger and upheaval. Some galaxies wear their history plainly. They are not ruined by it. They are made legible by it. M87, the giant elliptical in the Virgo cluster, is another lesson in the power of hidden centers. Its supermassive black hole became famous as the first ever imaged by the Event Horizon Telescope. From that central engine extends a jet of energetic particles stretching thousands of light years. The darkest places in the universe can generate some of the brightest phenomena. There is a philosophical metaphor there if you want one, but the physics alone is enough. IC 1101, among the largest known galaxies, scales the mind upward again. Enormous elliptical systems like this are likely assembled through repeated mergers over vast spans of time. They are less like singular creations and more like archives of accumulated encounters. The Milky Way would look compact by comparison, and yet, from far enough away, even giants become points of light. Rubin's galaxy, UGC 2885, offers largeness with a different temperament. It is a giant spiral, broad and relatively calm-looking, a reminder that not all grandeur arrives through recent catastrophe. Some systems seem to have grown with fewer disruptive encounters, preserving a kind of patient architecture across immense distances. Malin 1 goes faint and huge at once. Its low surface brightness made its true scale hard to appreciate for a long time. This is another cosmic whisper. Not everything extraordinary announces itself loudly. Some wonders require better instruments, longer attention, and a willingness to admire what is diffuse. Edge-on galaxies deserve their own pause. Seen from the side, a spiral becomes a thin, luminous line, and the mind suddenly understands just how flat many galactic disks really are compared with their width. NGC 4565, the Needle Galaxy, is one of the great examples. A bright central bulge swells from a narrow band of starlight, while a dark dust lane cuts through the glow. It is a city turned sideways, a continent of suns compressed into a line by perspective alone. Perspective is never trivial in astronomy. Change the viewing angle, and the interpretation changes with it. A face-on spiral reveals arms and star-forming knots. Edge-on, the same system becomes austere, architectural, almost calligraphic. The galaxy does not change. Your relationship to its geometry changes. That is not just a scientific lesson, it is a humane one. NGC 891 is another edge-on spiral, and what makes it so interesting is not only the disk, but the material extending above and below it. Gas circulates into the halo, stirred by stellar processes in the disk. The boundaries are not as clean as they first appear. Galaxies breathe, if by breathing you mean they exchange matter and energy with their surroundings. Perhaps that is close enough for poetry without betraying the science. There is comfort in noticing that edges are often not absolute. Day does not stop and night begin at a line you can touch. Shore and sea negotiate through tides. Atmosphere thins into space rather than ending with a wall. Even in galaxies, what seems bounded is often a gradient. Not every galaxy spins itself into spiral elegance. Elliptical galaxies trade arms and dust lanes for smoother distributions of stars, from squat and compact to giant, diffuse behemoths dominating clusters. These systems often contain older stellar populations and less cold gas for new star formation, especially the largest among them. If spiral galaxies can feel like active neighborhoods, ellipticals can feel like ancient capitals, full of old light and long memory. Picture a giant elliptical at the center of a cluster. It is likely grown by cannibalizing smaller companions and merging with peers over billions of years. Stars from many ancestral systems now share one gravitational home. Their original neighborhoods are erased in detail, but preserved in aggregate, like voices joining a choir large enough that the individual timbres blur into one sustained tone. This too can be restful, not because erasure is always kind, but because the universe repeatedly converts multiplicity into larger coherence. Separate orbits become one system. Separate clouds become one star cluster. Separate galaxies become one giant elliptical. There is a continuity to the way structure assembles itself. Sleep often asks for the same thing from the mind. Let the fragments stop fighting for the microphone and settle into one quieter field. Now widen the frame beyond single galaxies. The Milky Way, Andromeda, Triangulum, and the smaller companions around them belong to the local group, a modest gravitational gathering spread across a few million light-years. That already sounds huge by human standards, and it should. But in the cosmic census, the local group is not an empire, it is a neighborhood. Beyond it lies the Virgo cluster, a much larger congregation containing thousands of galaxies. Spiral, elliptical, irregular, giant, dwarf, active, quiescent, all embedded in a cluster-scale potential well dominated by dark matter and threaded with hot gas visible in X-rays. Galaxies and clusters do not live solitary lives. They fall in, swing by, merge, strip gas from one another, and respond to the cluster environment itself. Even on these scales, context matters. Then comes superclusters, though modern mapping teaches us that the term can be a little too simple for structures that blend into one another. Galaxies and clusters arrange themselves into filaments and sheets around enormous voids. The result is the cosmic web, one of the largest patterns known, grown from tiny fluctuations in the early universe, amplified over billions of years by gravity. If you could watch structure formation in accelerated time, matter would flow like weather into rivers of galaxies, pooling at intersections and leaving vast, underdense regions between. The important point for tonight is not to master the taxonomy. It is to let your mind experience a sequence of honest widenings, from room to planet, planet to star, star to galaxy, galaxy to group, group to cluster, cluster to web. Each widening makes the previous scale feel more local, more held, less absolute. Your problems are not mocked by this, they are contextualized. And context is one of the gentlest sedatives reason has ever devised. Galaxies also teach patience through light travel time. When you see Andromeda, you see it as it was about 2.5 million years ago. The light entering your eye or detector began its journey before there were humans building cities, before recorded history, before language as you know it had done its later work. Look farther, and you look deeper into the past. A distant galaxy is not merely far away in space, it is old news still in transit. This changes the emotional texture of the night sky. You are not surrounded by a present tense, you are surrounded by an archive. Some of the galaxies we observe at great distance are seen in youth, their shapes less settled, their star formation more intense, their mergers more common. We piece together cosmic history not because the universe handed us one convenient textbook, but because light from different distances delivers different chapters. There is a peculiar calm in recognizing that reality arrives with delay. The cosmos does not rush to brief you. It lets information travel at a finite speed and trusts that whatever learns to look up will accommodate the wait. Sleep asks something similar of the mind. Not every answer is due tonight. Not every message must arrive before morning. Not every uncertainty is an emergency. We should spend a quiet moment with black holes, because galaxies and black holes are more deeply linked than once suspected. Many large galaxies host supermassive black holes in their centers, and the properties of those central black holes correlate with aspects of the galaxies around them. It is as though the growth of a galaxy and the growth of its core are part of the same long conversation. Black holes inspire dramatic language, but the science is already dramatic enough. They are regions where gravity has pushed matter into a state from which not even light can escape once it crosses the event horizon. Around them, however, matter can heat, swirl, and radiate fiercely as it falls inward. That is why active galactic nuclei and quasars can outshine the combined starlight of the galaxies hosting them. The darkness at the center need not look dark from a distance. The infalling matter does the illuminating. For a sleep meditation, the useful fact is not the spectacle. It is the reminder that absence can structure presence. The central object itself may emit no light. Still, it shapes orbits, powers jets, and alters the fate of surrounding matter. In life, as in astronomy, what anchors a system is not always the loudest part of it. Consider also the life cycle happening within galaxies at every moment. Cold clouds collapse into stars. Massive stars burn hot and brief, enriching their surroundings when they die. Smaller stars persist for billions or even trillions of years. Planets assemble from leftover disks. Chemistry gets complicated in protected corners. Somewhere, perhaps, biology begins. Galaxies are not containers full of static beads. They are ongoing factories of transformation. The night sky from Earth can trick you into imagining permanence. Constellations seem fixed. The Milky Way seems eternal. Yet stars are moving, evolving, exploding, cooling, collapsing. Entire galactic morphologies can change through merger and gas loss. The universe is stable only in the way a river is stable. The pattern endures while the contents move through. And perhaps that is why it helps the mind rest. You do not have to become perfectly still in some rigid emotional sense. You only need to allow motion without panic. Breathing already knows how. The cosmos knows how. A galaxy can rotate majestically while billions of separate components go about their own business. You can rest while life remains in motion. There is always a temptation when discussing galaxies to ask where we fit. It is not a childish question. It is a human one. And astronomy does not answer it by flattering us. It answers it by placing us accurately. We are not the center of the Milky Way. The Milky Way is not the center of the local group. The local group is not the center of the Virgo region. There may be no preferred center of the universe at all in the ordinary human sense. Yet from every inhabited world, if any others exist, the question of meaning would still feel immediate. The cosmos does not hand meaning down like a memo. What it offers instead is context, and from context we derive humility, curiosity, and sometimes relief. Relief that the whole burden of existence does not sit on the next email. Relief that the deadlines of the day are not the deadlines of reality. Relief that the universe is in no danger of needing you to stay awake as its night manager. You can let the galaxies keep watch. They have been on duty longer than language. So now let the sequence widen and soften all at once. Let the Milky Way become a river of unresolved stars. Let Andromeda remain its gentle blur crossing intergalactic dark. Let Triangulum hang nearby with its loose star-forming arms. Let the Magellanic clouds drift at the edge of awareness, irregular and faithful. Let starburst galaxies vent their winds. Let ellipticals glow with old light. Let edge-on spirals thin into luminous lines. Let clusters gather and the cosmic web extend beyond anything the waking mind feels obliged to inventory. You do not need to hold the names anymore. The facts have done their work. They have opened the room. What remains is atmosphere, vastness without threat, motion without demand, scale without humiliation, the kind of scale that lets your thoughts stop pretending they are the only active forces in existence. Right now, Earth turns beneath you whether you notice or not. The moon continues its orbit. The planets continue theirs. The sun moves through the Milky Way. The Milky Way and Andromeda continue their long approach. The local group drifts within larger structures. Clusters pull on one another across distances too grand for instinct. None of this requires your vigilance. That may be the most merciful fact in astronomy. Reality is not waiting for your insomnia. The galaxies will rotate just fine while you sleep. So release the day into a larger frame. Place every unfinished thought into the halo of some distant galaxy where the stars are sparse and ancient and patient. Set every worry down in intergalactic space where there is no committee to keep it loud. Let every tight muscle get the memo from gravity that it may now stop resisting the bed. If an image remains with you, let it be this: a quiet spiral galaxy seen from far beyond its edge, turning almost too slowly to measure, every star bound into motion, every motion carried by law, every law unfolding without haste. Somewhere in one of those arms is a small world. Somewhere on that world is a room. Somewhere in that room is a person who has done enough for one day. Let that person sleep, and let the galaxies continue the rest. Stay with the Milky Way a little longer, because home is easier to relax inside when you understand how improbable and ordinary it is at the same time. Spiral galaxies are common enough in the universe that ours is not a celebrity by category, and yet there is no other galaxy from which you have ever watched rain move across a window or heard a distant city soften at midnight. A cosmic address can be statistically unremarkable and personally irreplaceable. In the galactic disk, generations of stars enrich the medium from which later generations form. That means the Milky Way has been running a slow recycling program for billions of years. Old stars die and return material. New stars form from the leftovers. Planets emerge from dusty disks around some of those stars. Chemistry accumulates complexity where conditions allow. In a broad sense, the galaxy is not just a collection of objects. It is a long conversation between matter and time. There are globular clusters in the halo of the Milky Way, dense spherical swarms of old stars, many of them relics from the galaxy's early history or acquired from smaller systems it absorbed. To imagine those clusters orbiting far above and below the disk is to imagine lanterns hanging around a city not on strings, but on gravity. They move through deep time with a composure no civilization has ever matched. And if you think of the Milky Way crossing a dark sky above ancient people, above your grandparents, above every creature that ever glanced upward with no understanding of what it was seeing, you realize the galaxy has always been both mystery and comfort. We named it before we measured it. We loved it before we knew what it was. Sometimes affection gets there ahead of precision. Science does not erase that. It refines it. Return to Andromeda and imagine what it means that another galaxy can be visible without a telescope. The human eye, evolved for survival on an African savanna, can detect photons that left another major galaxy before our species existed. There is something almost comically generous about that arrangement. The cosmos did not need to include a naked eye invitation to think bigger, and yet there it is. Andromeda also hosts its own family of satellite galaxies, and in that respect, it mirrors the Milky Way again. Large systems tend to gather smaller companions. Gravity scales up organization. From moons around planets to galaxies within clusters, the universe seems fond of nested structures. It is not content with single levels of arrangement. It stacks them. If insomnia is often the feeling of too many thoughts without hierarchy, astronomy offers the opposite experience, a reality in which things find their level and remain related across scales. If you could watch Andromeda over tens of millions of years, spiral arms would shift, clusters would move, streams of stars from old mergers would continue to disperse, and the overall galaxy would remain recognizably itself, even while every constituent changed position. Identity in astronomy is often pattern over persistence, form over fixed membership. A galaxy remains a galaxy not because the same stars occupy the same places forever, but because the structure and gravitational logic endure. Triangulum invites another kind of calm because it lacks some of the domineering presence of larger systems. It is not trying to overwhelm you. It just is what it is. A spiral galaxy carrying out the old work of turning gas into stars, and stars into heavier elements, and heavier elements into future possibilities. There is dignity in that kind of unadvertised existence. Its open arms reveal star-forming knots more easily than some denser spirals do, and that visibility makes the process feel immediate. Here and there, hot young stars carve cavities in the surrounding gas. Elsewhere, darker lanes mark denser regions awaiting their turn. The galaxy is a map of asynchronous becoming. Not every region is at the same stage. Not every cloud has collapsed. Not every star has reached old age. That is another useful bedtime thought. You are not required to have every part of yourself in the same season. The Magellanic clouds also remind us that naming and seeing depend on where you stand. Northern observers historically missed what southern skies offered more plainly. Visibility is local. Perspective is geographical. What counts as obvious in the universe depends a great deal on your vantage point. The same is true in calmer human terms. Some truths enter your life only after you move a little, inwardly or outwardly. Between the Magellanic clouds and the Milky Way, there are extended streams of gas, evidence that galaxies interact not only through stars, but through the diffuse material from which future stars may come. The space between galaxies is not always empty in the simple sense. It can carry bridges, traces, transfers. Separation and connection coexist. Distance does not always mean disconnection. There are galaxies with active nuclei so bright they can dominate the light of the entire host system. In quasars, matter spiraling toward a supermassive black hole releases prodigious energy before crossing the point of no return. For a time, the center can outshine the combined stars around it. This is one of those facts that sounds fictional until physics insists otherwise. A compact engine can outglare a galaxy. And then there are low-activity galaxies, quiet by comparison, where no dramatic central outburst grabs attention and the light is largely the patient sum of ordinary stars. The universe contains both temperaments. Some systems announce themselves across the cosmos, others do not. Loudness is not the same as importance. Another useful thought to leave beside the pillow. Ring galaxies, lenticular galaxies, irregular dwarfs, diffuse giants, compact ellipticals, barred spirals, grand design spirals, flocculent spirals with patchier arms. The classification list can grow as long as your stamina for nuance. But beneath the categories, what persists is a simpler truth. Matter responds to gravity, angular momentum, feedback from stars and black holes, and the initial conditions inherited from the early universe. Out of those ingredients comes a diversity extravagant enough to keep telescopes busy for centuries. Within clusters, galaxies can lose gas as they move through the hot intracluster medium, a process called ram pressure stripping. The galaxy is not literally rubbing against a solid substance, but motion through thin, hot gas can still remove material over time, reducing future star formation. Environment writes itself into evolution. A galaxy is not just what it began as, it is also what its surroundings allow it to keep. At the intersections of cosmic filaments, matter accumulates most strongly, building the largest clusters and supercluster complexes. The web is not decorative. It is the large-scale map of how gravity amplified the faint irregularities present after the early universe cooled enough for structure to grow. To think that all this emerged from tiny primordial fluctuations is to appreciate how much history can be hidden in modest beginnings. A small difference, given enough time, can become a universe of consequence. Astronomy is, among other things, the study of delayed self-awareness. The universe evolved stars, planets, chemistry, and eventually, on at least one world, brains capable of asking where everything came from. Then those brains built tools that widened the senses, from optical telescopes to radio arrays to space observatories sensitive to infrared, ultraviolet, X-rays, gamma rays, and gravitational waves. In that sense, the cosmos has grown instruments inside itself with which to examine itself. And what did those instruments reveal? Not a cozy and finished arrangement, but a universe still unfolding. Expansion on the largest scales, star formation continuing, though not at its youthful peak. Galaxies still merging, black holes still feeding, planets still forming around newborn stars. If reality were a book, we are not reading the final chapter. We arrived mid-narrative. There is relief in that too. Completion is overrated. The universe itself is unfinished. Why should a single day in a single human life demand perfect closure before bedtime? At this point in the journey, it is fine if the facts begin to blur at the edges. Precision has already earned your trust. You do not need to recite catalog numbers to benefit from scale. Let the names loosen. Let galaxy and cluster and halo become more like textures than terms. Sleep often begins not when the mind runs out of content, but when content stops insisting on sharp borders. If a thought returns from the day, do not wrestle it. Place it beside some distant spiral and see whether it still believes itself central. Perhaps it does. Minds are stubborn. But perhaps, under a larger sky, it relaxes a little and agrees to orbit instead of dominate. That is enough. Rest rarely arrives as a conquest. More often, it arrives as a change in relative importance.
Imagine for a moment watching two galaxies merge in accelerated time. The first close pass pulls long tidal tails of stars and gas out into space. The disks distort. Gas clouds crash into one another and ignite bursts of star formation. The nuclei circle, draw closer, and finally combine. Over time, the chaotic beauty settles into a new system, perhaps an elliptical galaxy, rich with the mixed inheritance of both parents. No single human life can watch such a merger unfold directly, but equations and simulations let us understand the choreography. And what choreography it is. Not frantic, despite the violence at close quarters. Not confused, despite the complexity. Gravity tracks every piece. Energy is redistributed. Angular momentum finds its expression. The resulting forms may look messy to a beginner, but nothing in the process is random in the sloppy sense. Complexity is not the absence of order. It is order with many participants. If your thoughts feel like a merger tonight, let this image help. Distortion is not necessarily breakdown. Sometimes it is transition toward a new, stable arrangement your present perspective cannot yet visualize. One more thought about scale, because sleep stories and galaxies share a secret dependence on proportion. A star can feel unimaginably large until you compare it with a galaxy. A galaxy can feel ultimate until you compare it with a cluster. A cluster can feel sufficient until the cosmic web makes it provincial. Proportion changes emotion. The same fact placed in a wider frame becomes lighter to carry. That is why astronomy remains one of the healthiest correctives to self-importance, and one of the kindest correctives to self-torment. It does not tell you that you do not matter.
it tells you that no single moment has to matter in the catastrophic way your anxious mind sometimes proposes. The universe is both larger and more forgiving than that. So if there is any usefulness left in these words, let it be this recalibration. You are small enough to relax and real enough to belong. Those two conditions can coexist beautifully. Before we end, let the observational fact of galaxies become something almost tactile in the imagination. Think of a dark room with one window opening not onto a street or a garden, but onto intergalactic space. Through that window you see no nearby landmarks, only layered depth, a spiral here, a faint elliptical there, a distant cluster reduced to jeweled dust, all of it held in black that is not emptiness, but interval. Black is what lets the light mean something. Silence is what lets the music become itself. Distance is what lets a galaxy look like an idea. And yet every one of those delicate smudges, if approached, would become a realm. More stars than any one mind could name. More planets than any one civilization could visit. More histories of birth and extinction and chemical enrichment than any one species could fully catalog. The sky simplifies by distance, but reality remains lavish. This is why astronomy supports meditation so well. It teaches that what appears simple from where you are may still be rich beyond measure, and what feels overwhelming up close may soften into pattern if given enough room. So rest inside that room tonight. Let the window stay open to the cosmic dark. Let each galaxy beyond it be both a fact and a balm. Let your breathing be the smallest rotation in the script, a local cycle nested inside planetary motion, stellar motion, galactic motion, all the way up the ladder of structure. There is no conflict between your stillness and the universe's movement. They fit together. They belong to the same arrangement. And maybe that is the final cosmic perspective worth carrying into sleep. The universe is not a machine that cancels tenderness, nor a cathedral that demands constant reverence. It is a reality spacious enough to contain both mathematics and awe, both measurement and metaphor, both the iron in a stellar core and the softness of a human voice describing it in the dark. You do not have to choose between knowing and feeling. The galaxies permit both. They ask only that, for a little while, you let scale do what scale does best. Loosen the knot of urgency, widen the mind, and return the body to the oldest intelligence it has, the one that knows how to sleep when it is safe. And tonight, under galaxies old enough to make history feel young, it is safe enough to drift. Let your last waking image be unhurried motion, a spiral arm turning, a halo holding, a cluster gathering, filaments stretching from horizonless dark to horizonless dark. Nothing frantic, nothing demanding, just law, time, and luminous matter continuing their patient work while you set your own work down for the night. If tomorrow asks much of you, tomorrow can ask it when tomorrow arrives. The galaxies are in no rush, and for the next while, neither are you. Sleep now while ancient light keeps traveling, while unseen halos keep holding, while the universe goes on being wider than worry and steadier than thought. You have looked far enough tonight. Rest in